All right, let's dive into something a little different today. We're going to unpack a really unconventional piece of writing that basically challenges everything we think we know about reality. It's one man's personal guide to the world as he sees it and how he claims to live in it. So let's just start with the big one, the question that's at the heart of this whole thing. What if our reality isn't real? What if all the stuff we navigate every single day, the laws, our jobs, even who we think we are, is just a pre-written script, a kind of make-believe world that we've all been taught to accept without question? Okay, so here's the core idea. The author says we're living in two completely different realities at the same time. There's our direct sensory experience of life, what we see, hear, and feel, and then there's this other, constructed world of fiction that he calls the system. And he argues these two worlds are constantly at war with each other. So, what exactly is the system? Well, according to this text, it's not just the government or big corporations. No, it's the entire make-believe world built from language itself. Think about it. Contracts, laws, legal definitions, all these things built from words on a page that were trained basically from birth to see as totally normal and real. And this is where it gets really interesting. The author makes this critical distinction between a man and a person. A man is the real, living, breathing being, the one who experiences the world through their senses and their heart. But the legal person, he says, is a total fiction. It's just a construct, a paper identity created so we can interact with the system. So one is you, the actual being, and the other is just a role you've been assigned to play. Okay, so if the system is a fiction, how on earth does it hold so much power over us? Well, the author's answer is language. He argues that the words we use create what he calls the alphabet prison. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. The idea here is that even when we feel like we're making our own choices, being our unique selves, we're actually just picking from a limited menu of pre-written alphabet scripts. These scripts, these concepts and words are what keep us trapped inside our own heads, inside a mental prison that prevents us from seeing what's really going on. This leads us to a really fascinating paradox. The author claims that whenever we try to fix the world's problems, corruption, injustice, all of it, by working within the system, using its own rules and its own language, well, we just end up making it stronger. Our very dependence on it is seen as the root cause of the damage we're trying to undo. So if we're all trapped, how do you get out? Well, the author lays out a path to freedom. And it all starts with understanding the main tool of control in this worldview, something he calls emotions. And notice that spelling, emotions. Yeah, this is a very specific definition you've got to understand. In this philosophy, emotions are not your genuine from-the-heart feelings. Nope. He says they're more like artificial, distorted feelings that come from our intellect, from words and ideas. And their whole purpose is to trigger predictable reactions in us, to make sure we stay in line and follow the script. So to break free from these engineered emotions, the author shares the 5-step process he's apparently used since 2005. It's a journey of some pretty intense self-work. It starts with the pure intention to be responsible. Then comes scrutiny of your own thoughts, followed by deep contemplation. Then the really hard part, grinding through all those old habits. And finally, habitual practice, doing it over and over until this new way of being just becomes second nature. And what's on the other side of all that work? What does life actually look like once you supposedly left the system behind? Well, the author describes it as a state of full responsibility, a life where all those external rules and structures just aren't necessary anymore. I love this metaphor. He calls all the components of the system prosthetics. Think about it. Laws, authorities, social safety nets. He sees them all as artificial supports, like crutches for people who haven't learned to take full responsibility for themselves. But once you do, he claims, you just don't need those crutches anymore. You can walk on your own. Now, the implications here are pretty radical, to say the least. Living a life of full responsibility, as he describes it, means you get to eliminate all the middlemen that stand between you and your life. We're talking police, government, law firms, the whole shebang. In this worldview, you become your own authority. Period. So I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds very abstract, maybe a little isolating. But believe it or not, the author is actually trying to turn this philosophy into a real-world community project. Let's take a look. So here's the vision. The project's called Kindom. And what's really fascinating is the strategy. He says they're using the tools of the system, what he calls system dreams, like money and contracts, to build the physical infrastructure for a new way of life. But the ultimate goal is to eventually throw all those tools away until nothing is left but a community grounded in direct, sensory reality. It's kind of like using the system to escape the system. So, to put it simply, the Kindom village is meant to be a real, hands-on place to learn all this. It's for people who are serious about this idea of living free from fiction and who are actually willing to do the hard work it takes to unlearn their dependency on the system. And that's where we'll leave it. Now, whether you buy into this perspective or not, it does leave us with a pretty powerful question to chew on. How much of our own world, from money and laws to the very idea of nations, is built not on physical reality, but on powerful, agreed-upon stories and fictions that we all just choose to believe in? Definitely something to think about.